Happy Wednesday and welcome to another episode of Herspiration Happy Hour Season 6. We are on episode 2. Ladies, are you ready for some cocktails and conversation?
Oh, yes. I was waiting on our intro.
It's coming right now.
Are you ready for cocktails and conversation? Are you ready for cocktails and conversation? Are you ready for cocktails and conversation? With your host, the unapologetic diva, Dr. G, the girlfriend therapist, Dr. Cortina Lewis, the Blue Phoenix Hills, Louisa Harrell, and the networking extraordinaire, Diana Richardson Philippus. Are you ready for cocktails and conversation? This is Herspiration Happy Hour.
Okay. Oh my gosh, ladies, it's Wednesday. It has been a hell of a week thus far. It's been a hell of a start to the new year. I know. So you know what, Louisa, what are we sipping on today?
Okay, so today we are sipping on, excuse me, we're sipping on a cranberry orange whiskey sour. So you need half a cup of cranberry juice, 4 ounces of whiskey, a 1/4 cup of simple syrup, a 1/4 cup of freshly squeezed orange juice, and the juice of 1 lime, and 4 ounces of ginger beer. So what you do is fill the cocktail shaker with ice and add the cranberry juice, whiskey, simple syrup, orange, and lime juice. Shake well and fill 2 glasses with ice and strain this mixture into glasses, and you can top off with the ginger beer.
Oh, okay.
I would like that minus the ginger beer.
Yeah.
Oh, you don't like ginger beer?
No, that sounds very good, and I want to try it.
Yeah. I'll send it to y'all in the chat.
Okay, put it in the chat for especially for anyone else who wants to try it with ginger beer, without ginger beer. Did I miss the mocktail?
Oh, the mocktail, you just take out the whiskey.
Oh. Okay, well that would be more my speed these days, considering I'm still doing dry January. And y'all, I'm telling you all, I have found not only Heineken Zero, I found Stella Zero with no alcohol in it. It's
really,
yes, they have Budweiser Zero now, Heineken Zero, and Stella Zero. And then they even have like a zero alcohol wine, which is nothing more than probably just some grape juice, but it's like having communion up in this house. So what's been going on with your weeks thus far?
I don't even know where to begin. It's been absolutely crazy. But before we go into our weeks, I do have a Women Crush Wednesday.
Oh, okay. Well, who are you crushing on today?
I would say Sheryl Lee Ralph because of her speech at the Golden Globes. I thought on the red carpet, not her speech, but on the red carpet. And the reporter asked, what would you tell your 15-year-old self? And basically the sum of it was, you got this, nothing is wrong with you, love who you are, your lips and everything else about you, because there are people, and she name dropped the Kardashians, who will pay $10,000 for these lips. And so you are great just as you are. And she was very matter of fact, very unapologetic. And then later last night she tweeted, and I stand by what I said, and good night. And so she did not mince words. She absolutely meant what she said. And I thought that was so great, because when you look at TV and when you look at society, so much of the visual stimulation that we received is filters and overdone. And so now people have this distorted perception of what it is to be a real person. And so not trying to keep up with everybody else's aesthetics, but being comfortable with what God gave you. And that was my takeaway from that message, because there are certain individuals who have altered their looks that appeal to younger girls, and not even just girls, but teens, period. And for them to look at them and say, okay, well, this is the standard of beauty that I ascribe to achieve. And for her just to say, hey, when I was 15 years old, this is what I needed to hear. And she said it very unapologetically on a platform. So that is my WCW today.
Well, I loved what she said anyhow, because it was so spot on my beliefs and why I do what I do in my books. It's teaching young kids how to love who they are, love what they look like, be unique. You don't go altering and fixing things or to look like someone else. Let them look like them and you look like you. So I definitely agree that what she said was so on point. Although when she said like the Kardashians, I was like, oh, well, all right now. I said, and she did not pause. She did not pause when she said it. So it really said a lot, and a testament to today, the way that young girls are thinking today. That's how I feel.
Yeah, and I think, well, some people had a problem with her saying the Kardashians, but I don't, because I think when they came out with that whole era of lip fillers and all of these other things and tanning your skin, because I look at some of those pictures and I said, well, damn, they don't even look as clear.
They look manufactured.
So I just wasn't sure. And I know they try to say, well, we're Armenian and we tan in the summer and all this other kind of stuff. Honey, it's giving a little bit darker tan than just what the sun is going to give you. So, I mean, and that's with the bodies and everything like that. If you look at them when they first came out, the individuals, what they look like right now, it's not the same bodies that they came on the scene.
Well, with the exception of Courtney, I feel like Courtney has really. It's hard to tell she's a Kardashian because she's the only one that feels like I'm not going to do everything else. I mean, all the rest of them, from even the Jenner girls.
Khloe got some work done.
Some? What? Oh,
Khloe don't even look.
Khloe look like a whole nother. I don't even know.
Yeah, I'm a mom on that one, because she definitely looks like a whole nother person. It's like they just put somebody else's face on her. She got a whole new body. It's a lot going on there. But you know what? But I think and this segues into our conversation for today, because when we talk about being vulnerable and why we need to let our guards down, I think part of it is understanding that a part of vulnerability is literally living in your own self-worth. And being honest about where you are in your life. And if you're not able to put yourself out there and how you feel and what you see to express those things, I feel like you do exactly what Khloe Kardashian is doing, is continually trying to find herself and fixing what everybody else is saying is wrong with her.
So when I listened to, you all posted it, and I heard, I don't know, was it last week? I'm not sure what day it was, but the clip that was posted of our last podcast that we did. And I heard myself and I cringed. I was like, oh my goodness. I sound like I am from the backwoods of someplace and I live in a hut or something like that. I don't know. I said, I sound so country. And I don't know if y'all heard it, but maybe that's what my voice sounds like. I said, I feel like my voice, not what I was saying, but my voice sounds uneducated. That was just what I took from. I was like, oh my God, this is so embarrassing. And so to your point, Dr. G, when you were saying, like being okay with us, I'm paraphrasing. It was so funny because I wanted to bring that up. Like, I absolutely was mortified when I heard how I sound on the recording. I was like, oh, maybe I need to, how do I change this? How do I change this?
You know what, Cortina, I think there's a time and a place for everything. Sometimes if you're just letting your hair down, like on this platform, we're real. We are very proper speaking, but at the same time, we speak slang. We speak, there's certain things. I don't know what, because to me,
it wasn't even what I was saying. It sounded very extra
Southern
country, uneducated, illiterate. To me, that's what it sounded like. I was like, oh my God, I had to turn it off. I had to scroll past.
Where were you hearing this at?
I don't remember.
You heard the clip that we posted on Instagram.
Yeah.
So, but you don't sound that way to us. And I'm gonna be honest, everybody has it. Oh my gosh, I hate listening to my voice. And it's so funny. I think everybody does, but you do not sound like that.
I'm telling you, I do voiceovers and I'm thinking, oh my God, I don't like the way I sound. Yet people still pay me to do voiceover work for their events and whatever. But to me, I really hate the way I sound. That's why when I was redoing the intro for this year, I said, hey y'all, send me your saying your name. That way I'm not the only one that is speaking on the track, because I literally cannot stand to do that. Oh my God. DJ Butcher said, put some auto tunes on all of y'all and call y'all SWV.
I want you all to just go listen to it and just think about what I said. And again, it's not the words that I was saying or the context of what I was speaking. It was just,
But I create the sound bites, so I listen to them. I've never thought that it would be anything wrong with how you sound in the sound bite, because otherwise I would have said, "Oh shit." Like, past this, because I have to play the episode in order to get the right sound bite. So it's not that I'm not playing it back. Now I always hate how I sound on it. But I'm like, okay, but my mom also said I could have had a job at Disney. So I know my voice can sometimes be pitchy, and unless I'm doing voiceover stuff and I'm having to like tone it down, I don't want to spend my whole time like, let me front about, what I am doing or something like that, just to voice over stuff. But I thought it sounded fine.
I don't know. I said, I can't be too comfortable or something, because maybe I let my hair down a little too much.
Were you drinking?
No.
But you do have a heavy Southern voice, especially when you start getting very passionate about stuff. It's almost as you may as well have come from the backwoods of Texas, because you do get super Southern I'm telling you, when you start getting passionate about something and then the hands start to go, it's
it doesn't sound bad even when you go there.
And I don't even know where it comes from. I don't know where my accent comes from. My daughter, she was just in Louisiana for 2 weeks. They were like, girl, you have an accent. And most Florida people don't necessarily, because Florida's not necessarily, it's the South, but we're not considered like Georgia, Alabama, like that part. And
thank you, DJ.
I was just like, I have no idea. Like when I get super passionate, it's just like, girl, where are you from? A lot of people think I'm from like either South Carolina or someplace Southern. I say I have no idea. Maybe it's the ancestors coming out in me. I have absolutely no clue. I don't know where this accent comes from. I don't know.
You're from Florida, and you're from further South Florida.
Yeah, that's
South Florida. But no, South Florida is like a melting pot. Even people from Florida are like, where are you from?
Oh, wow.
I say I'm from Florida. Even the way I say Florida is like, it's Florida. But when I'm super relaxed, even like Pam, you know my friends, and they all speak Creole and they're Haitian. And every time I'm speaking, they're like, what'd you say? Huh? And so now like he's been with me long enough, he's like a translator, like, oh, is that what you meant? And even if he wants to pick on me now, he's like, do you mean 4? I'm like, you know what I'm talking about. See, like talking about, like that's what is that?
So hold up. I had to laugh at this because this just, when you talked about D translating for you, it made me remember the story that that Morgan was telling about when she went to school and told everybody she was Haitian.
Lord Jesus, that girl. Oh my God. Then she
I like to have
the truth.
And then they started speaking to her and she had to tell the truth. And she was like, no, my stepdad's Haitian.
Yes. Like, okay, well, y'all
Yeah.
got me there because I can't say anything. The music, I got you. The food, I got you. You start speaking another language, it's like, no.
Really? You said in Atlanta?
He said some of them ladies sound like King of the Hill. Oh God. Oh yeah. And LT said, I don't like going back and listen to myself either. Yeah.
Oh, I'm like, I hope this is not what I sound like when I'm, giving at a conference or speaking or teaching to my students. Oh my God.
No,
I
you
do
do
give a
not
disclaimer.
sound like that.
But I do give a disclaimer sometimes. I say I have a Southern drawl sometime, and I start to speak very fast when when I get in like the passion circle, when I'm like in the meat of whatever it is that I'm talking about. Oh yes, it's there. But I hope Southern drawl and like country-ish accent, it's okay. But for me, I feel like I heard something different. I feel like I heard backwoods, no shoes on, walking on the dirt road.
I take offense to that because I grew up here, but every time we went down South Carolina, and I didn't wear shoes unless I had to. I was out there ripping and running around with no shoes on. I came back home to my getting the hat and everything.
Wait a minute. What?
Getting the hat, going to house is what that means.
Oh, girl, I didn't even know what you were saying.
Look,
I thought you said a hot.
Get in the hat and the chat.
We cut words up.
Yeah,
Like,
the chats.
Excuse me. Yeah. I don't cut my words up, and I went to school. I did my schooling time, summer in DC, but schooling time in Georgia, and I don't cut my words off.
That's how
not like I don't know why I just cannot stand, like, what is it? Girl for girl.
Oh, girl. Come here, girl.
Now I don't say those type of things, but the wrong will come out. Like if I'm talking very fast, I might say faux instead of for, or dough instead of door. So like it's like very, and they make fun of me all the time.
My children have only went down South Carolina one time for a month in all the years, and they have been back, and it's been about 3 years since they've been down there, and they still slip up and say little stuff. It's just in you,
And that's why even when, like, Pam, what you were saying, us being able to show up authentically, that's why when I see individuals in corporate America, I understand that there's some level of assimilation, but us being comfortable not to assimilate too much as it relates to our dialects and how we speak, because it's almost like I am negating where I'm from. Like you have some people that try to hide their accent. Even when they're speaking with their accent, you can still clearly hear what they're saying, but trying to assimilate closer to white, because sometimes, and let's just be honest, people do discriminate because they feel as though sometimes the way people speak dictates their education level, which is not true.
Correct.
And so
but I also think it's what is suggested that Black should be. That always bothers me. Proper does not mean Black or white. Yeah. That's not what that means at all. Being proper does not mean you are uneducated, by no means. And so to me, it's all of these different things that suggest what Black should be that narrative needs to be shifted and just thrown all the way out.
Yeah.
So, but let's talk about a few things, because there's so many things that I want to talk about on the topic of the power of vulnerability. And Tina, I know this, I already sense you're going to get passionate about this, because
I'm not going to say anything.
No, you are. And and I thought about this, and the title is, the power of vulnerability and why we all need to let our guards down. And there are so many ways that we can look at vulnerability, but one of them I want to talk about before we get to all the fun stuff. The need to be vulnerable is to embrace a level of honesty with yourself, even on your bad days.
Mm-hmm.
And I say that because even coming into this year, and coming out of last year and coming into this year, the number of suicides have really gone up. And people say all the time, well, I didn't see it coming. You don't.
Mm-hmm.
But, and then you have to ask yourself, why weren't these people comfortable enough to be vulnerable? Why did they feel like they had to hide in the shadows of their discomfort, of their depression, and not be vocal, so much so that they can be at a party and having a lot of fun and say all the things that they want to do and then go and take their life.
Mm-hmm.
So we have to be able to grasp a certain level of that vulnerability to be able to let our guards down and be okay with being comfortable and vulnerable, especially in spaces that are open. I mean, and people vent on social media and cry on social media. Now, granted, some people, it might be just to have some, it's like, hey, it's for likes. But then there are some people who absolutely really need that platform as a call to help.
Mm-hmm.
So, Cortina, I do want to ask you, in what ways can we really embrace the power of vulnerability to cultivate relationships of honesty in our circles?
The way we talk about things, right? So let's just say we saw someone unalive themselves, right? And if you're in a social group and that's something that you're dealing with, and your peers or your friends or your family members are talking or speaking very disparagingly about that individual, do you think I'm going to feel comfortable enough to share my struggles? So I think as we are looking at it as a whole, the verbiage around individuals who have unalived themselves needs to shift a little bit. Are we more mindful about people who may not be speaking up about what they need because of the fear that's already there? And the only thing that's speaking disparagingly or negatively or like, oh, they had all this money, they didn't have to die, just comments that people make. If we can just say, you know what, I don't know what they were going through, but if anybody who I know ever is feeling like that, I want them to know that they can come to me. I want my friends to know that they can come to me. So when you're in the group and you're speaking like that, that person might feel a little bit more at ease to share it with you because they already know that, okay, this person not going to judge me. So I think continuing to destigmatize exactly what it means to have honest conversations about suicide within the Black culture. Now, I know this is not specific to Black, but the only reason I'm going to say that is because there's a lot of research that has been done on suicide, period. However, Blacks don't necessarily display the same signs as their white counterparts. There are some individuals that will start withdrawing and doing other things, but culturally there is a bit of a difference. And they did a research study on younger Black males and suicide and found that they won't say anything. They won't start giving things away. They won't start saying goodbyes and everything. So, if you know anything about suicide, they say, be careful. People start giving things away, things of sentimental value and things like that. That wasn't necessarily something that was prevalent when they did the research about Black boys unaliving themselves. So that's one thing we just got to be mindful of. And the only way we can begin to get comfortable with being vulnerable is if we feel that we have a place to be that way. I'm not going to be vulnerable if it's not emotionally safe for me to share that. How do we find that emotional safety that allows us to feel as though I can be vulnerable? It's already stigmatized enough. We feel like our Black men don't share their emotions. They don't emote. They're not sharing. They're not expressive in their emotions. So now, on top of all of this, not being expressive, not sharing, we're now asking them to go a step further and be vulnerable. How do we get them to doing that? And I think it takes all of us to be able to create that for not just males, females, non-binary, trans, whatever you want to identify as, and get to a place where we're being more supportive versus judgy, because we know society can be very judgy. And seeing a professional when you notice that you're starting to even have these thoughts, even if they're passive thoughts. So passive suicidation or suicide ideation is if I tell myself, if I go to sleep and I don't wake up tomorrow, I wouldn't care. That's passive. That doesn't mean I'm going to do anything. I'm not going to go get a gun. I'm not going to overdose on pills. It's just me saying, if I don't wake up tomorrow, I'll be okay. So even when you start to have those type of thoughts, reaching out and speaking to someone at the inception that you notice that something is, okay, I wasn't thinking like this 2 weeks ago. Okay, what is happening in my life that is causing me to feel the way that I feel? Then once I'm able to speak with someone, I can explore the sources or the things that's causing me to feel this way. Now, let's just say I'm having these thoughts and it's just passive ideation. And then it becomes to, like I'm having these active thoughts, or I'm even thinking about different ways or different means to harm myself. Okay, now I'm thinking about, okay, this would be the opportune time. And so I have access to means, either if it's pills, if it's a gun, if it's rope, whatever things that we normally assess for when we're doing a suicide assessment. And because if I haven't spoken to anyone, now I'm getting to the point where it's like that. I mean, I'm not going to say you're late in the game, but you are way past just passive ideation. Like you are actively, intentionally thinking about what are the different ways and the means that I can harm myself. And that's where we get very sticky, because a lot of times when people are depressed, they don't necessarily have the motivation. They may have the thoughts, but they don't necessarily have the motivation. But when they start to come out of that, now I'm a little bit more motivated. I still feel the depression. And then that's a lot of times when they follow through with it. So a risky time would be when they're getting on medication. Because maybe I'm not in the dumps. I can't change my clothes. I can't get up. I have no energy to do anything. So when I get that little bit of burst of perk, I'm still depressed, but I'm like, I have more energy to follow through on the thoughts. We have to be very mindful of patterns. And if we see people's patterns changing, we might want to just inquire. We have this new thing now where people are like, well, I'm just letting them do them. I'm going to just give them some space. Space might not be what they need. That might absolutely be the opposite of what they need. And so that's just what I would say.
Oh my gosh, that's a lot, and that's a lot of powerful stuff. Because like you said, we definitely need an outlet. And I always say, for Black men, be your brother's keeper. Mm-hmm. Make sure that he's doing okay. Check-ins. I know for a few times, a year, at least once a month, I do a check-in and I'll say to my friends, hey, how are you on a scale of 1 to 10? Mm-hmm. And my goal is that we have a close enough relationship that they can be honest, that we can all be honest with each other, because I always feel like I'm going 1,000 miles a minute. Dr. Lewis, you're going 1,000 miles a minute. Louisa, you're going 1,000 miles a minute. So is Diana. Hence she can't be on the call today. But I will stop what I'm doing when it comes to your mental health. And if you say, hey, I'm not doing so well, it's like, okay, ladies, let's have a girls' time, or let's do brunch, or I'm going to stop what I'm doing to make sure that I'm mindful, because I don't want to let that slip. Right. I mean, if you're a 7, and I know some people in my chat groups, because I have more than one, would say I'm at a 7, but I'm going to therapy, or I'm at a 5, or I'm going to therapy. And so for me, I'm like, okay, thank goodness that you're getting therapy, but I'm still here. Mm-hmm. And that's important. So you have to be able to cultivate those relationships. And if you feel like, this is my honest opinion, if you feel like you have a circle that you cannot trust, get the hell out that circle. Yeah. Get all the way the hell out that circle. And because if somebody missed my clip, I was talking about that whole people saying new year, new me, I'm going to get rid of all toxicity, and not realizing that they're the toxic person themselves. And so when, they leave other people behind, other people are like, oh God, I was trying to get rid of them. Now that I got rid of themselves, thank goodness, because that person was the toxic person. And for good reason, you know what I'm saying? So you have to really be able to heal yourself, but also remove yourself when things are not serving you. Not everybody is meant to go with you. Not everybody has your best interest. And sometimes you literally just outgrow. It doesn't mean you have to ignore this person or not have a relationship. You're just, that person can no longer give bricks to what you're building.
Mm-hmm.
And so you have to learn to say, you know what, I need other bricklayers that's going to contribute to what I'm building onto this foundation. And when you don't have it, you just have a person that's sitting next to the bricks, and that's why you're stagnant and nothing is going for you. So it's very important that you put yourself where in situations and relationships where you can be vulnerable.
Mm-hmm.
So let's talk about relationships. Cortina, at what point did you know you could be vulnerable with D?
I would probably say where I saw a glimpse on our first date. I was sharing with him. I wanted to be very intentional. I had never had a relationship where I felt emotionally safe enough to share parts of me that I hadn't shared before. And so that meant like my true feelings, my fears, my whatever I had going on, for them to know the real me. They knew parts of me, but I never fully gave me to somebody. I always held on to this because I had this idea of independent, and I wanted to allow vulnerability. I wanted to be able to trust the person I was with enough to be comfortable with being vulnerable. So we talked so long, and D is very I don't want to say off, not off-putting, but like very on the offense. He's not loud. He is very like, yeah, okay. So, and the people I'm used to dating are very big personalities, a lot of energy, kind of like me. And so I had never dated somebody who was total opposite of me, you know? And so his presence made me feel safe. The way that he spoke was very non-commanding, but in a manly kind of way. I cannot explain it. And so I started sharing things. And when I did, and I even told him, I said, this is, when we moved in together, I was like, this is very difficult for me. This is very hard for me because I'm so used to having my own. And even though this was a decision we made together, it's still your house. And so that's difficult for me to let go of. He was like, no, but it's our house. I said, no, it's not. It's your house. And then even prior to that, we went to, where did we go? We were in Jersey, but not the time I went to see you, but it was the time before that. This was back in 2019. We went for a wedding, and we went to go visit his friend Jonathan, and I left my purse at Jonathan's house. Mind you, we drove from New Jersey to Maryland, and then back to New Jersey. When we got to New Jersey, I realized I left my purse. I was like, oh no, I got to get my purse. He was like, I got you, whatever you need. We can have him overnighted tomorrow. I said, oh no, I need my purse. I said, my money is in there. My credit cards are in there, because me having my own was my safety and my security. I was not to the point yet where I felt as though I could trust somebody else, where I felt like naked. Like, I got to ask you, because we going to New York tomorrow for the whole weekend. I don't want to have to ask you about this and about that. And can I buy this? And oh, no, we're not doing that. So I wanted my own stuff. I wanted my own money, my own credit card, just in case something went crazy left, which I didn't think it would, but I was comfortable. And on the ride there, he was like, what is this? What are we doing? He was like, I thought this was a partnership. And so when I tell you, on the way back, that man did not talk to me, because I made him drive all the way back to Maryland that night. We got home to New Jersey at like 1 a.m. We had to drive back to Maryland, get the purse, and drive back to New Jersey. And I was serious, because I would have drove myself. I would have Ubered. I would have something, because I was going to get my purse.
Oh,
however, that was something I was working through, because I wasn't there yet. And so now I see, like, he is like, but he's my best friend. Like, he knows more about me than anybody else I have ever dated. Like, I can totally 100% be my goofy, crazy, loud, all over the place person, and I don't feel judged. I don't feel side-eyed. I don't feel any of that. But it took time because I was so stuck in my way of being independent. And that was something I knew I wanted to break away from, because I did not want to be in the mindset that, yeah, I'm with somebody, but I'm separate. Or I wanted to really work through that. And it took time. And I would always remind him, okay, I'm working on this. Okay, this is we're working on this and everything like that. But I had to put the work in and I had to do it.
So, what about
now that's your husband. That's her husband.
Louisa, what about you? At what point do you allow yourself to be vulnerable in relationships?
Well, okay, so
she get married next year.
She said engaged. I thought she said engaged.
Okay, yeah, I'm trying to speed up.
Are you getting married or engaged next year?
I don't know what's gonna happen.
Okay, well, something's gonna happen. We gonna speak it. I don't know what it is. Whatever you want to happen.
But what I'm saying is, but no, usually, okay, so I've been married before, and so I haven't been in any other relationship outside of the one I'm in now, except with my husband. And so we met as teenagers, so you're a teenager. But now I'm gonna be honest. The first day I met him, my mookie, I cried, and it wasn't even supposed to be like that. We were at we were somewhere, and it was an event, and we were just out there talking, and then I just started boo-hoo crying, and I don't know who told me to do that, but I'm not one of those people who now I am. I'll cry. If I'm feeling it, I just let it happen. But back then, it was not. No, I don't cry in front of people. I'll go in my closet. I'll cry in the shower. I'll go in the bathroom. I'll go in the car. And we were just talking, and it just shoot. And he sat right there, and he grabbed my hand, and I looked at him all ugly. And he was like, "It's gonna be okay. It's gonna be all right." And that made me cry more. So yeah, I mean, that was the first thing. And like Cortina said, Mrs. Lillis, Dr. Lillis, he's my best friend. Like, he really is. And so yeah, it's so different now from when I was married, when you would think you would have a better relationship since we've known each other since high school, but it's different. It is completely different. And he has helped me, not even knowing that he has helped me understand my ex a little bit more, help me understand myself. Of course, like Otini said, you got to do the work, you got to do this. And I started doing that before I met him, but dealing with him has helped me deal with me, because if I think about him, my whole body calms. I don't care where I'm at. I don't care if I'm about to punch somebody in the face, which I'm not. But if I'm in that place and I just think about him, or maybe he calls or a text to come through and everything, just say, you know what? I ain't got time for this. But that's what happens. And so it's just, and it's not just me. It's not one-sided. And I think because it's not one-sided, everything is reciprocated, that it makes it easy to be vulnerable, to open up, to text and be like, oh my God, I'm having a moment. Da-da-da. Or he can do the same with me, and that's the thing. But also, let me go back to what Katina was talking about earlier. Safe spaces are important. Safe spaces are important. And if D wasn't a safe space for you, you wouldn't be where you are. Yeah. And I'm sure you're the same for him, just like you, Pam. If Jay wasn't a safe space for you, it's like you have to have that safe space. You have to have that space where you could come and be vulnerable, even if you don't say a word. Even if you're just sitting there staring into the sky because you just don't know what to do. Because you know that person, or even just the house or a part of the house, is comfortable for you. It's a blanket for you. It encapsulates you. You're able to be vulnerable. And this is what I have. We're good.
One of the things, and I think it also goes the other way as well, because knowing our partners and sometimes what they've gone through in the past even makes you want to have more patience. So, for example, he said that he would never get married again. That was before. Now we are where we are. However, I'm very mindful of, and it's not walking on eggshells or anything, but I can be, in my last relationships, I wouldn't talk to you for a month. I don't give a damn. Like, I would be able to hold a grudge. Now I don't want to, because even when we were just dating, it's almost like we are a partnership. And I tell my patients that I work with, I said, if I view you as an opponent, I don't need to be with you. Because if you fail, the relationships fail.
Yeah.
If I fail, the relationship fails. And so we have to be on a team. And if we both have the same winning goal in our mind, how do we get to that point? And so, like D, he's still very stubborn. Like, he is as stubborn as a mule. He will dig his heels in. That is just. However, I am okay with being the one, and I always say this, I'm always the one that give in, because I don't want us to go to bed mad. And if I have more control as it relates to initiating the conversation, who cares who initiates it?
Right.
We're on the same team. And so I tease with him all the time. I said, well, I'm gonna give you a wedgie. I'm gonna do something that's gonna make you laugh at me. Because it doesn't matter what it is. We are not going to bed mad, because heaven forbid one of us doesn't wake up tomorrow or something unfortunate happens. I just don't want our last interaction to be what it was. Now, yes, everybody goes through tough times, but I always have a conversation with myself. Okay, at the end of the day, are we still going to be together? Okay, so why am I wasting this time?
Right.
Why am I wasting valuable time being upset, being in my emotions? Yes, we still have to talk about whatever it was that went on. We just can't sweep it under the rug. However, if this is not a deal breaker where it's like, oh no, this is for real, we're not going to be together, how do we make it work? And if it needs to start with me, and I'm okay with that because I'm a therapist, and so I'm like, okay, well, I can't just be promoting something that I'm not actively implementing within my life.
Yeah. No, I definitely agree. I think for me, because I never opened up in any of my relationships. I always had that wall up, which was always, it was always so easy for me to leave. I automatically went in for the wrong reasons anyway. I always went in for the wrong reasons anyway. And I refused to allow myself to be vulnerable no matter what. And even if I tried to trust a little bit and you broke that trust, it was shut back down. And I think for me, Jay was the first person that I was able to really, truly, like 100% be myself. But that's mostly because I got to know myself before I met him.
Yeah.
I had to go through a process of healing for myself before I entered into another relationship. And when I say I was having a good goddamn time, I was having a good time. I think God was like, look here, you enjoying life too much. Let me throw this in here. Because he was not someone I would typically have dated. I did not want a relationship. I just kind of wanted to be free. And our relationship happened very organically. We were friends and we stayed friends, and we're still friends to this day. And I think for me, he taught me a level of patience I didn't even know I had in me. Seriously. But then on the other side, there were things that I was able to teach him about relationships, like Cortina. I'm not going to bed mad and you not sleeping somewhere else. Like, I don't give a damn. You getting in his bed. And I'll even share this very funny story. He probably be like, I can't believe you shared that. We got into I don't remember what we was arguing about. And we don't argue very much. Because I just say how I feel. And then I'm like, let's go eat. I'm one of, we're one of those, nothing is held on to or anything, but I made him mad, and he was sleeping on the couch, or he fell asleep on the couch, and I was in the room, and I woke up and I'm like, oh, he ain't in the bed. So I come out the room and I'm like, why are you sleeping on the couch? And he looks up at me, and he didn't even say nothing other than the fact that I know you are not standing here naked yelling at me. I absolutely was. I was, I was like, there, we are not doing that. You come get your ass in this bed. but so there are things that made me feel comfortable, because in any other relationship, I would not have cared.
Mm-hmm.
I literally would not have cared. You can go to bed mad all day. You could die in your sleep. I would not have cared. That's the level. And I'm just being 100. That's the level of a lack of vulnerability that I had, that I was willing to give of myself in those relationships. So I think, being able to be in a very healthy relationship speaks volumes, especially if you are healthy yourself. Like Cortina, you already know, it's like, you know what? Somebody has to concede. I already know who I'm with, and I'm fine with it. Because, if one of us have to be nice, I don't mind it being me, because it'll pay back will come in the end. It'll eventually.
You were at our wedding, Pam, so you heard like the rose thing, like, when you don't have the words or whatever, not at the year where you give the dozen, but if it's like your way of apologizing. So, I just got a gift, and he asked me, because, he all super cybersecurity and all that. He was like, please don't post it or whatever. Okay, so I'm not going to post it, but I put it on my story. That's not posting it. I put it on my story. It's going to be gone in 24 hours. So he called me, and he was like, I thought you said you weren't going to post it. I said, I didn't post it. I said, I placed it on my story. And so I said, it's going to be gone in 24 hours. He said, can it be gone in 2 minutes? So yeah. When I tell you, I was so pissed off. And it's not because of that, but it was just very cute, like how I put it on my story. And with the song that went with it, it was like God did or whatever, like that, like the DJ Khaled song with all the people on it. And so once I got over it, I was like, okay, yeah, I could see where post is just post, because he be doing that little stuff too. But I was just being very literal. It wasn't a post, like a post. It was a story, which is different. And so I went and I got the single rose, and I put it. And I don't even think he knew that I was gone, and I went to go get it. So when he went upstairs, I had the single rose on his pillow as my way of saying, like, I'm sorry. It wasn't even nothing that deep, because he wasn't mad or anything, but I just wanted him to acknowledge. I mean, I wanted him to know that I acknowledge the discrepancy in what I had told him originally and what my thought was, because I really thought that it wouldn't be a problem because it'd be gone in 24 hours. So, Louisa, I'll share with you. I'll email it to you exactly like what the rose, because we did a rose ceremony in our wedding, and so. Roses, one single red rose was exchanged during our vows, like during the part of our wedding. And so that was our first gift to each other as husband and wife. And so anytime that there is, you might not find the words, or you're trying to just let them know that you're there, you see them, you're sorry or anything, you just place a single red rose, and it's supposed to remind you of your vows and the day you said I do, as a way of coming back together. And so that's the symbolization, what the rose symbolizes.
Oh, so you gave him a rose also for forgetting your vows in the room?
Well, no, because the rose ceremony was after that. So
I know, but I was just saying, that was so funny.
Yeah,
he was like, well, he made sure and let you know. Well, I remember mine. It was so cute. It was super, super cute. It's so much fun. So much fun. I know we're about 10 minutes, close to 10 minutes to the hour. So, I definitely want to see if any of you have any last minute comments regarding, being vulnerable, whether it's in a relationship, whether it's in friendships. Mm-hmm. I just would like to hear, what you have to say to our audience as some takeaways when it comes to vulnerability. Louise, I'll start with you.
Okay. I want to make sure everybody knows that vulnerability is not weakness. You have to be very strong to share what you keep hidden. Mm-hmm. People don't understand that, men have a hard time sharing their emotions. They're not supposed to, have feelings. And the thing is, men are more emotional than we are. It just comes up in anger. But usually anger is a cover up for pain. And so we as women are able to express ourselves. We're able to talk. We have girlfriends. We have books. We write. But men, a lot of men don't do that. And so I think if men understood that being vulnerable or having feelings and emotions and allowing those to come up does not mean you're weak. You're not a punk. You're not a quote unquote simp because you have these feelings. You have them because you're human. And it's normal and it's okay. Share it.
Okay. What about you, Cortina? What would your takeaway and last minute or message to our audience be?
If you have struggles or challenges being vulnerable, I would ask you or recommend that you take a moment and think about why. Why is this difficult for me? What is it that I fear? What am I afraid of as it relates to allowing myself to be vulnerable? And do some self-work, because it's not necessarily about the people or the person. It's more so about yourself and what's the negative narratives that you might be telling yourself, oh, they're going to use it against me, or they're not really going to be there for me. Oftentimes, it's the fear that people are not going to be there for us when we share with them what we need. And so doing that self-work about what prevents me from being able to be vulnerable. And that's where I would say start. Ask yourself, do I feel comfortable with being vulnerable? Why or why not?
So I think with regards to self-work, so I have to come back and ask, because I think self-work is the hardest for people to even say, I need work for myself. So what would you say to someone who do not think that they need self-work, but they need self-work?
I would have to say, I think self-work is lifelong. There's no starting and ending point. So when you have individuals that say, oh, I did all my healing, you must be died. Because life happens every day.
I had this conversation the other day.
Life happens every day. We don't know what the next month holds. We don't know what the next second holds. So it's ever evolving and ever changing. And we have to do re-evaluations and evaluations of ourselves consistently. Things that I liked a year ago, I might not like them today. Even if I'm in a relationship or a friendship, or I'm implementing boundaries within my life, there are going to be some relationships that shift because I am now verbalizing and implementing my boundaries. And some people who I'm connected with, they might not like it. And so I have to evaluate the people in my life, the certain situations that I may put myself in. Am I in the right career? Because that even changes. And so self-work never ends. It's always about me working tomorrow to be a better version of myself than I was today. How did I miss the mark today? What is it that I needed more of? If I needed more patience and I'm working on giving myself more patience, guess what? That's self-work. If I'm working on cultivating a mindset of peace, that's me actively working on there. And every day I have to make decisions. All right. Do I allow myself to stay stuck on that thought? Do I go down this road? Do I pick up this phone call? Do I talk to this person? Because if peace is what I'm working on as it relates to my mindset, I have to always evaluate these things. And people don't see self-work as that. Some people may say, you know what? It's not even, oh, I'm trying to be, what do you say, new year, new me, or I'm on my positive vibe and all this other kind of stuff. Even if people say they're on their positive vibe, that's still self-work, because that means you're being intentional about whatever positivity that you're trying to be. And when people say that, I'm like, okay, well, maybe you were the one that was not making the vibe positive. So you can't just think that it was everybody else. We have to take a look in the mirror and say, you know what? What's my part in this disruption of peace?
Wow, that's heavy. I'm one of those with you that agree that healing is an everyday journey, because you're always going to have to heal from something somebody said. You get in a car, road rage, you have to ask yourself, why am I reacting this way? Lack of patience. Like I can't stand to see people flying by me going nowhere fast. That's what I call it. And almost trying to kill everybody else. It's like, what's in your mind that you feel like you have to be in a hurry for? If you're going to be late for work, just be late for work rather than take a life on the way there. So I'm definitely agreed that self-work is a continuum that you will always have to be on. It's a continuous journey. And plus, I think if you growth is always going to take work. You know, anything that you want to do is going to take work. But regarding specifically to vulnerability, I'll say this. There's nothing better than being able to always be yourself, speaking up for yourself, because vulnerability is being able to speak up for yourself. And a lot of times we hold something because we don't want to rattle any cages. Well, sometimes you have to do that. Sometimes you have to be uncomfortable to be comfortable. You have to be uncomfortable to have your peace. You have to be uncomfortable to put boundaries in place that you know are going to make people upset. But it's equally important that you feel comfortable being vulnerable enough to share exactly how you feel, because as you do that, you'll be able to, I guess, open up that doorway for healing. And you'll also get to know yourself, and other people will get to know you as well. And that's that level of self-work that is the hardest, is being able to assertively give yourself to someone else in a manner that is respectful to both parties. And unfortunately, in my experience, I've learned that sometimes you're going to offend people whether you want to or not. Because that's just a level of life, because somebody else might have had a bad experience with somebody because they need healing and they need work. And so while your work is interfering with their avoidance of wanting to do self-work, you can't take that on for yourself and say, I'm choosing not to be vulnerable. Right. What you can choose to do is be vulnerable enough to share exactly how you feel, and then walk away from that relationship if it's not going to serve you well. Mm-hmm. But I feel like having those safe spaces, having those close relationships, and being in spaces that's going to contribute to your progress, your own personal progress, your own professional progress, and what you want to do in life. So that would be my words of wisdom on being vulnerable, because we need it. We should not be walking around with guards up. I think that takes more energy than just being 100% yourself. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, this has been a great show with a lot of great. I know, right? I know. So we're very blessed to have you all. And tune in, downloads. I mean, you all have been absolutely amazing. Season 6 this is just the start. Conversations like this is going to be major. If you would like to be on the show, there's definitely opportunities for you. And look at here. That's so funny. He said voices are still sounding great.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah. So our website is down right now because we're making some shifts and changes, and from host and all of that stuff, but it will be up really soon. But you can also send an email to the Herspiration Happy Hour email, and we'll make sure you get the link to be on the show, which is herspirationhappyhour@gmail.com. Mm-hmm. We love that you tune in. We'll be back next Wednesday. Yay. Same time, same place. And I'm still going to be on my mocktails. It's a good thing. But ladies, you too, huh? Cortina, are you dry?
Oh, I need to go get something. I'm not dry right now. I'm dry right now, but I need something.
Yeah,
oh no, but I'm saying, are you dry January?
Oh no, I'm not dry January.
Okay.
I'm a social drinker, so I don't really do too much.
Right. I have a shot every night. It helps me sleep.
That's all right. That's all right.
So instead of me taking like some Cymbalta Lexapro, I just have a shot.
Well, hey. Look, I say that's healthy.
Like melatonin.
I do a sleepy time tea right now. I'm trying it, but yeah.
Oh, that works too.
Yeah,
I'm on the kick in for me.
Oh, see, I drink it at like 7 or 8 o'clock.
Oh, that's okay. Yeah.
Yeah, I almost have to. Well, you all, thank you so much for tuning in. Let me see. I have some other content. Oh, my mom said cheers. Oh, cheers. Well, Butcher, you don't drink anyway, so you don't really count. But until next Wednesday at 7 p.m. Cheers, you. Have a good week.
This is Herspiration Happy Hour.